Welcome back, fellow shop rats. We're here in my 2012 Dodge Ram truck. I call it a mega cab. I know it's not, but it sounds so much better than crew cab. So it's my truck. I can call it whatever I want, right? Anyway, we've got troubles again, and I had promised you that at some point I would share the scan tool that I picked up and how to use it and so forth. So we're kind of going down another little rabbit hole here, but it's got to be done because it's killing my gas mileage. So let's get into it. Don't go away. This will be fun. I'm Mike, and
this is My Cars Shop.
so if you remember when we had taken our big epic trip, we had issues with the transmission, and this is about a month after that episode, which actually just aired a couple days ago. And so far, the transmission seems to be doing somewhat better, but I haven't pulled the big trailer yet with it. Probably don't have any plans to do that anytime soon, but well, I will be going to get the GTS hopefully before the end of the year. But anyway, so we'll see how it goes. But so we got CheckEngineLight back on. I have not looked into what it is yet, but it's definitely a hard fault. It comes back every time. The light just came on yesterday. I suspect it's the same issue we had last time. But I wanted to share this little special thing that I bought right here. It's a little scan tool. It's about $40 on Amazon. It's a V317. I'm sure that it's made somewhere in the Far East. It just plugs into your OBD2 port. I'll show you where that's at with this plug. And then you go through the process and the procedures, and you can look at the codes and all that stuff. So I thought I'd share that with you. I've only used it the once to clear the code the last time we had it. So we're going to be learning together. My trailer brake is in the way, but the OBD2 port on a Dodge Ram is right here, and we just take our plug and we plug it in right there, and that's where she goes. And then our screen starts coming up with all kind of stuff, so we'll get you up somewhere where we can see a little bit better on this. It's not exactly easy to show you this, but I got it hung over the steering wheel, so hopefully it's going to hang well there. So I think what we do is we go to our OBD. We got to scan this. It's not a touch screen, so we use our little arrows. Whoops. See, I'm still learning. There we go. So I use the up arrow to scroll through, and then I hit OK. Responding from the computer. I don't have the vehicle running. I can't remember if it's supposed to be or not. I don't think so. Okay, there we go. So it starts telling you what needs to happen. So we got to turn our igniter on. There we go. And I think we just do it again. There we go. And we have one code that's monitoring 8 different things. And we're going to read the trouble codes, but we can get all kinds of information out of this. So let's do that real quick. Whoops. I'm still learning. Whoops. Okay, try again. I'm still learning. I wished it was a touch screen thing, but it's not. Okay, so now we got to use the up and down arrows. Otherwise, you're saying okay or escape. So I want to go to vehicle information. So down arrow to that, and then hit OK. Gives us our VIN number, which I'm not going to show you. Our calibration ID, I believe that's California verification number for meeting California emissions, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to back out of that. We can look at our O2 sensor. We can look at all of our data and so forth. So let's read our trouble codes. That's a different code than last time. I'm going to look that one up. P1524 manufacturer control. That's interesting. So I'm going to do a little research on that one. Looks like we have 2 things to look at. It says there's 2 trouble codes. Yeah, okay. A P1524 and a manufacturer control. So I got to look those up. I'll be right back. So from what I read, it's oil pressure or cam sensor related, and I believe that the cam timing thing is kind of oil pressure controlled on this thing. So we're going to check the oil real quick and see if we're okay. But we didn't have any oil pressure lights going off, and the gauge was good. So I got a theory as to what's going on. We'll figure it out. But let me check the oil real quick and see what's going on here. The engine hasn't been started yet for the day, so our oil level should be true. There's nothing pumped up, and we are right in the safe zone, just above the add mark. Check it again. We just had the oil changed on it. Yeah, it's a quart low. So we'll have to get some oil in it, but I don't think that's what's causing our issue. And I got to remember what we're using in this for oil. Good question. Got to call Mike and find out. What I'll probably do is just go visit him and have him top it off for me. So yeah, we're a quart low, which is no surprise after 1100 1200 mile trip, whatever that was. And then we've done some local driving with it, but not much. So we've probably got 1500 miles on this oil change. I change it every, I think with this oil I change it every 5000 because it's synthetic. I think that's what we're using in it. I got to check with Mike. I think it's like a, I feel like it's a Sitco synthetic oil that they use, which has got good quality and so forth. Um, but I got to double check. I just don't remember. I should know. I just can't off the top of my head. So anyway, I don't think that's causing our issue. But let's go fire this thing up, clear that code, and see if it comes right back. That manufacturer control error is associated, I believe, with that P1524. It means that something that's controlled by the manufacturer's electronics is giving a fault. So that one's kind of an ambiguous code. And I'm guessing if I had, an actual, what are they, Star Tester, whatever Mopar's using now, I can't remember, that it would be give me a little more detail on that. But it's a $40 tool, so you can't expect much. Okay, let's fire this up. I'm gonna go look at the evap while I'm here because that's where my trouble code was last time. Our oil pressure is real good. I don't see anything there. The evaporative emission numbers look basically right considering that it's just cold starting up. That's what I had my issue with last time. So let's look at the O2 sensor is not going to tell me much. Um, Although if I remember right on these newer ones, it's not like the old ones so much. I mean, they have open and closed loop, but back in the day, everything was controlled by the temperature sensor, and if the engine coolant temperature didn't get high enough, it would never go into the open loop, and it would run off of closed loop and just use default set by the computer. It's not quite that cut and dried anymore. I admit that I'm a little bit out of touch on it because I haven't stayed up to speed on it. But I've stayed enough up to speed to be familiar with it. And forgive me if I got my open and closed loop backwards, but it's one of those things that I know what I'm thinking and I know what I'm talking about, but sometimes I don't always use the right words because, words, language, stuff like that. We're going to go back and again, we're going to read our, I keep thinking it's a touch screen, read our DTC, which is read our trouble codes. P1524, which is that oil sensor type thing, but we have oil pressure. I mean, one of the things they said, if you get this code, immediately stop driving it, take it in for service. Well, I mean, it could be something failing with the cam uh, timing thing, but I don't think so. Let's clear this code out and see what happens. So we're going to go over here to clear codes. And we're going to do an erase trouble codes, and then be yes or no. So yes. Oops. Can't do it with the engine running. Key on. Try again. Okay, I think it did it. I may need to reinitialize because it's still thinking that the that the engine's running. Let's try one more time. Key on, engine off, press any key to continue. I may need to disconnect. Yeah, I may need to disconnect and reconnect. Hold on, let me do that. All right, as soon as I came back, it showed that the trouble codes were cleared, but let's double check it in here. Yeah, so it did clear it, but it was freaked out. All right, let's fire it up again and see. Our check engine light is off. See that? So we'll take it for a little drive, and we shall see Shell City if it comes back. Let's go for a drive. Switched over from my wireless mics to the earbud because this microphone doesn't have the same type of noise canceling, and I've learned that the hard way trying to use those other mics wherever it is. It's still on my hat, I guess. Anyway, I've learned the hard way that these microphones don't work well in a driving vehicle. So we got to get it up to temperature and so forth. So we'll go a little bit, and I could be monitoring open loop, closed loop, all that stuff, but I'm really not that hipped up about it. We're just going to drive around the section and see what happens. Give it 5-10 miles, see what happens here. So we'll burn 15 or 20 gallons worth of gas to test this. Well, we put several miles on now. We're up to temperature. Everything's running good. No more hard code. So that's one of the things I was going to mention is why I bought that scan tool. Some codes you can clear just by disconnecting the battery and leaving it disconnected for a while. Other ones don't. And I'm going to date myself
because I find myself so attractive and I like dating myself.
I've been out of doing this kind of stuff since about 2001, so I'm 22 years outdated. But there are soft codes and there are hard codes, and soft codes can be cleared disconnecting a battery, going through the key cycle process, whatever. There are different ways to do it. Hard codes basically get embedded in the memory and programmed into the computer, so they go into a programmable memory that you can only clear. I'm trying not to use the technical terms from way back in the day because I'm sure it's all changed. But the principles are all the same. It gets written into the very code of the computer into a programmable area and can't be cleared out without actually going in with a tool. And that the last time it was an evaporative emissions code that we had, and I think that one was a fluke. I really think this one was a fluke also, although that low oil could have caused a glitch. So it's very possible. But anyway, that's why I bought the tool. I thought if I have to take this thing in every time and pay $100 to get the codes checked and just have them clear the codes and say, it doesn't look like there's anything really serious, which is what my friend Mike would do. He would err on the side of, he knows me well enough to know that I'm not an idiot when it comes to vehicles. I'm a certified mechanic and I've done it and blah, blah, blah. That I would keep an eye on things, and so he could push the envelope a little bit more and save me some money. But a lot of times, like in this case, they might, say, well, we got this code, let's throw a part on it. And, it could cost me $400, $500, $600 on the side of caution, which I understand. It's not necessarily a ripoff, because if you don't have some basic understanding of mechanical knowledge, you could blow your engine up if there, so, say for example, it was a serious oil pressure problem that was intermittent, so you get what I'm saying. So I think I know what's good or what's going on here. So let me, get out of the truck here, and we'll get into the shop where it's a little bit warmer, and we'll have a little bit of a more talk. So what I think happened was, many of you know that my best friend was killed in a tragic car accident about a year ago, a little over a year ago, 15 months ago, something like that. And been helping his wife out, who's been a good friend of mine ever since, almost since high school. But yesterday we were over there. She had an apple tree that blew over. It was a tree that she and her husband had planted when they first moved into the property, 30 years ago. And it was in a grove, and one side of the tree didn't grow because of all the other trees that were around it. And so it got heavy on one side and got so laden with apples, it tipped over. Um, so we agreed to, once the ground dried out a little bit this fall before everything froze, we agreed to go help her upright that tree. It didn't die. It stayed bearing fruit. It stayed green throughout the last couple of months. We're quite sure that the tree is going to be fine. But we went over there yesterday to help her make that tree upright, and we were going to use my buddy's loader tractor, but it hasn't been run for 15 months, and so I hooked my truck up to it to jumpstart it, and we couldn't get it started. So that's one thing that could be a possibility in this. And then the second thing was we used the truck to try to upright the tree, and hooked onto it, put it in 4-wheel drive, and we were able to pull it to a point and get it upright. But it was tough because the ground is still pretty wet there, and we're right in the middle of this little apple orchard. And so the traction control kept kicking in and out, and the tires were spinning, and it was just a lot going on. And the truck was just not doing what trucks of this vintage, in my opinion, are created to do. If I'd had Becky's old '88 Ram, no problem, right? But we didn't have enough weight, and we didn't have the tractor. So anyway, we were able to get the tree uprighted. We cut down another tree to give it some space, and strapped it down real good to the ground so it will stay upright and get a chance to reestablish itself. But that has nothing to do with this, but it does, but it doesn't, but it does. Because of those two scenarios of putting the truck through unusual work that it doesn't normally accomplish. I normally use it for hauling stuff. I normally use it for driving, pulling a trailer. But because of actually working it like a real truck, and this thing is tough, don't get me wrong, but um, sometimes I think it's too smart for its own good. I got a feeling that we just kind of freaked the thing out a little bit. And being as it is a little bit low on oil, you know, so we'll get that topped off. But we drove, I don't know, 10 miles, something like that. So far, so good. When we left her place yesterday, everything was good. The light didn't come on. I'm going to say probably it was within 5 miles. That check engine light came on. I checked all the gauges, everything was fine. So I'm not too worried about it. We'll get the oil topped off. We'll keep an eye on it. But I'm keeping this, right in the center console of the truck for this very purpose. Now, a couple of cautions and things that I want to share with you as well. I am a certified mechanic, even though I haven't worked professionally as a mechanic for 25 years or so. Um, I have a little more knowledge and experience than the average person. Do I think you can get yourself in a lot of trouble with a scan tool like that? Yeah, you could if you don't know exactly what you're doing and you push something beyond the envelope of where it should be pushed. Do I think having a scan tool like that is beneficial? Yeah, I do, because I know I've saved myself several $100s on that with that $40 tool. So err on the side of caution if you're going to use something like this. Do your research, dig into what the issues possibly could be. I'm not saying don't do it, but I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if I wasn't saying these things are complicated these days and they're almost too smart for their own good. Um, but you can still, you could clear out a trouble code and cause some long term damage if you're not paying attention. Um, I'm erring overly on the side of caution. I know that, but I have to do my due diligence here because I don't want somebody to have some major problems. Say,
Well, Mike over at MKS said all I had to do was.
okay, so I think you guys are smart enough to know how to work through stuff like this, but I wouldn't be doing you justice if I didn't give that bit of warning and say, just do your diligence, do your research, and most of all, hopefully you have a relationship with somebody who is really into it and up to date and current, like my buddy Mike, who is a Chrysler mechanic, and a good friend, and who's very willing to let me pick his brain and be annoying. I try not to too often, but we do swap because I take care of their computers and printers and all that stuff. So it works out well for both of us, and we pick each other's brains. So it's all good. And yes, for those who don't know and who think I'm just a grease monkey, I do own an IT company, and we do IT every single day. So I'm a little bit familiar with computers, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not a computer engineer, and I don't play one on TV, but I have engineers. technicians and all that stuff. Yeah, one more thing I wanted to share with you. There is a reason that I don't work on the newer vehicles anymore, other than the few little things you see me do here on the channel, and that's just to save some money. I would rather stay focused on this stuff that I have going on in here and the other 8 cars we have around the property. I'd rather spend my energy on that. But however, it would be foolish, in my opinion, to spend hundreds of dollars I don't need to when I can buy parts for this car by saving the money by doing something like this. So you got to decide. But as always, this channel, while it's mostly about fabrication, preservation, restoration, and more, this is the more part. When I have a brake job to do on a Mini Cooper, I share it with you because I believe that there's something to be learned. When I have issues with my 2012 Dodge Ram, I share that with you because I believe there's something to be learned. I've got a lot of experience. I've been turning wrenches since the 80s. And even though I haven't done it professionally, I still have a lot of knowledge and, or at least half truths in my head to share with you. I did work in the auto industry as both an engineering technician and an engineer. So I have things like that to share. And so my channel is about spending the day here in the shop doing whatever it is we're doing. We might be polishing cam on a lathe, we might be grinding valves, we might be tearing down engines, we might be fabricating floor pans, we might be doing a paint job. um, MKS is just really me about sharing my automotive life with you. Spend the day with me, let's hang out. Let's just see what you can glean and what you can learn. And
One thing you could learn, at least, is that guy's a moron and doesn't know what he's talking about. And if that's where you stand, it's okay, because you still learn something.
I'm secure enough in myself that I'm not offended by that. I promise. It doesn't mean I might not get right in your face about it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not offended by it. All right, that's going to do it for this one. I hope there was some beneficial knowledge. I'm really happy with this tool, even though I keep thinking it's a better, more expensive tool, and I keep trying to use it as a touch screen, and I forget that you only can use the up arrows to scroll through the menus. That literally is only the second time I've used it. So I shared the floundering as I'm learning with you. I'm sure we'll circle back to that again. But I'm going to keep that in the truck because, like, when we were doing the trip and we had that evaporative emissions our fault code come in, um, my gas mileage was hurt. And if I'd been able to clear that while we were, on the road, when we stopped for gas, I could have cleared that code out. It probably would have made a difference between 1 or 2 miles to the gallon. Plus, it would have given me an opportunity to see more of what's going on besides just what I'm seeing on the gauges on the truck. Remember, this truck is 11 years old. It's not new. So, there's some things we got to do in there we can do, I should say, rather than just relying on the dealer and the experts in that area. So that's it for this one. I appreciate you being here. A little different, I know. I would have been working on the 86 truck today, but I put my back out about a week ago, and I've just been in miserable pain. And sanding like this is not, that hurts just to even show you. So I should be good in a couple days. And that's what we got to do next is scotch break down the inside of that cab and get that ready to shoot. Once that's done, we'll be shooting the outside. I keep saying that. I'm going to get there. I promise. I want this truck out of here by the end of the month. And this is the beginning of November right now. November 6th today, I think. 5, something like that. So anyway, that'll do it. We will catch you on the next one. Oh, don't forget.
Rock!